All right, folks, let's cut right through the noise. Everyone wants to burn belly fat, but nobody wants to sacrifice hard-earned muscle. The truth is, you don't need gimmicks, detox teas, or endless hours of crunches. What you need are a few strategic, high-return exercises that torch calories, drive up your metabolic rate, and most importantly, help you preserve lean muscle mass while stripping away fat. Now, when it comes to training, the secret isn't finding some magic move that only targets belly fat, because that's not how physiology works. Instead, you want movements that maximize energy expenditure, recruit multiple muscle groups, and can be pushed hard enough to create a real fat-burning effect. With that in mind, here are the top 5 exercises that'll help you burn off that belly fat fast while still holding onto muscle. Number 1, heavy compound lifts. Think squats, deadlifts, presses, and rows. These are the backbone of keeping muscle. They let you maintain strength and send your body the message, don't burn this muscle for fuel. And yes, they burn a ton of calories too. Number 2, interval sprints. Forget jogging endlessly. Short bursts of high-intensity sprints, followed by recovery phases, skyrocket calorie burn, and keep your metabolism elevated for hours. It's like flipping a metabolic switch without grinding away muscle tissue. Number 3, loaded carries. Farmer's walks, sled pushes, sandbag carries. These make your entire body work as a unit. Grip, core, legs, lungs, all firing at once. Not only do they torch calories, but they also keep your strength and conditioning sharp. Number 4, rowing or assault bike. These machines are absolute monsters for calorie burn per minute. They're brutal, but they recruit both upper and lower body. Done in short, intense intervals, they'll shred fat fast while sparing lean mass. Number 5, bodyweight circuits. Push-ups, pull-ups, lunges, burpees done back-to-back with minimal rest. This is metabolic conditioning at its finest, burning fat, improving endurance, and holding on to that muscle you've built. Now, here's the kicker. Exercises alone don't solve belly fat. They're tools. Pair them with proper nutrition, enough protein, smart calorie control, and progressive training, and you've got the formula to lean out while still looking muscular and athletic. When it comes to burning belly fat without losing muscle, the first thing most people get wrong is they start obsessing over cardio crunches or some fancy new fat-torching gimmick they saw on Instagram. And don't get me wrong, cardio has its place, but the backbone of your training during fat loss absolutely has to be heavy compound lifting. Why? Because your body is an efficiency machine. When you're cutting calories and your body senses that energy is limited, it starts asking itself a very simple question: what can I get rid of that isn't essential for survival? And unfortunately, unless you give it a reason not to, muscle mass is one of the first things your body will happily throw out. It's expensive to keep around in terms of calories. Muscle burns energy just by existing, so if your body thinks you don't really need it, it's gone. And that's why compound lifts are the insurance policy. Think about squats, deadlifts, presses, rows, pull-ups. These movements require your whole body to work together. You're not just moving one small muscle group in isolation. You're coordinating big slabs of muscle, stabilizers, and even your nervous system to handle heavy loads. When you load up a barbell and squat it, your body gets a loud and clear signal: hey, this muscle tissue is vital. We need this strength to move heavy things. That signal is what convinces your body to hold on to muscle mass even when calories are low. Without that signal, your body basically says, cool, you're jogging a lot, great, let's ditch some of this bulky muscle because it's slowing us down. And that's why you see people who diet hard and only do cardio. They get smaller, but they don't necessarily get leaner in the way they want. They end up looking skinny fat. Now, here's the other piece people underestimate. Heavy compound lifts also burn a ton of calories. You might not think of lifting weights as calorie burning, the same way you think of running on a treadmill, but do a set of 10 squats with a weight that challenges you and tell me your heart rate isn't spiking through the roof. Big lifts elevate your heart rate, they require oxygen, they stress your cardiovascular system, and they crank up post-exercise calorie burn. That's the POC effect, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. In plain English, it just means your body keeps burning more calories after the workout because it's repairing, rebuilding, and restoring balance. And compound lifts create that demand way better than biceps curls or leg extensions ever could. And let's be clear, when I say heavy, I don't mean maxing out like a power lifter every session. Heavy just means challenging enough that your muscles and nervous system are forced to adapt. That might be sets of 6-12 reps for hypertrophy, or even a mix of heavier sets with slightly higher volume. The point is, you're moving real weight, not fluffing around with something you can do for 30 reps without breaking a sweat. The stimulus has to be loud enough for your body to hear it over the noise of calorie restriction. Another thing worth pointing out is that compound lifts keep training efficient. When you're trying to lose fat, your recovery is already compromised. You don't have as many calories, glycogen stores are lower, and your overall energy might dip. So you want the biggest bang for your buck. Why waste time with endless isolation work when one movement can train half your body? A deadlift will hit your back, glutes, hamstrings, grip, and even core. A bench press isn't just chest, it's shoulders, triceps, and stabilizers. These lifts give you the best return on investment, especially when your training recovery currency is limited. Here's something else. Compound lifts help maintain strength, and strength is one of the best indicators of whether you're holding on to muscle. When you're cutting and you see your weights in the gym plummeting, that's usually a bad sign. It often means muscle loss is creeping in. But if you keep grinding out those compounds and fight to maintain or even just slightly slow the decline in strength, you're preserving muscle. And when the fat finally comes off, that muscle is what gives you shape. That's the difference between just looking smaller versus looking lean, defined, and athletic. And I'll say it because people need to hear it. You can't spot reduce belly fat. You can't do sit-ups until your abs burn and expect belly fat to melt. Fat loss is systemic. It comes off where your genetics decide first, and usually the belly is one of the last to go. So if you're hoping compound lifts will magically target your stomach, they won't. But what they will do is protect your muscle mass, drive calorie burn, and ensure that when the fat finally does come off, including from your belly, you actually have muscle underneath worth showing. Otherwise, you'll just look deflated, like a balloon that lost air. So, the bottom line, compound lifts are the anchor of any fat loss plan that aims to keep muscle. They send the right signals, they burn serious calories, they keep you strong, and they make sure you don't just lose weight, you lose fat. And that's the goal. When people decide they want to burn fat, especially belly fat, the first thing they usually think about is cardio. And what do? They jump on a treadmill, jog for 45 minutes, sweat a little, and then wonder why 3 months later their body doesn't look all that different. Sure, they might be a couple pounds lighter, but often it's not the kind of fat loss they actually wanted. The mistake is thinking that steady-state cardio, jogging at a comfortable pace, cycling while scrolling your phone is the ultimate tool for fat loss. The truth is, if your goal is to burn fat fast while keeping your hard-earned muscle, steady-state cardio isn't nearly as effective as high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. And the reason comes down to both physiology and practicality. Let's start with the obvious. Intervals burn more calories in less time. If you go for a 30-minute jog at a moderate pace, you'll burn calories, sure. But compare that to 20 minutes of sprints done in intervals. Say 20 seconds sprinting all out, 40 seconds walking or resting. Those 20 minutes are going to torch way more calories overall. Why? Because during the sprint phase, you're working at near maximal output, forcing your body to recruit a ton of muscle fibers, driving your heart rate through the roof, and depleting energy systems much faster than slow, steady jogging ever could. And when you rest, you're not just doing nothing. Your body is scrambling to recover, replenish oxygen, and restore balance. That costs energy too. Now here's the kicker. It's not just about the calories you burn during the workout. With HIIT, you get this extended metabolic effect, EPOC, or excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. Basically, your body continues burning more calories long after you've finished, sometimes for hours. Your metabolism is elevated, your recovery systems are humming along, and you're burning through extra energy just to get back to normal. With steady-state cardio, once you stop jogging, the calorie burn stops almost immediately. No bonus. It's over. That's why HIIT is such a better weapon when time is limited and results matter. But let's also think about the muscle side of the equation. Remember, the whole point is burning fat without losing muscle. Steady-state cardio, when overdone, can actually send the wrong signal to your body. If you're logging miles like a marathon runner, your body adapts to be more efficient. Inefficiency, in this case, often means shedding muscle mass. It doesn't think you need. Think about what marathon runners look like. Thin, wiry, low muscle. That's the body adapting to lots of long, low-intensity work. Contrast that with sprinters, short bursts of insanely high intensity, and they're usually jacked with big quads, powerful glutes, and upper bodies to match. That's not a coincidence. The type of training sends a message to your body. Either keep muscle because it's useful, or ditch it because it's dead weight. Intervals send the right message. There's also the mental factor. Jogging endlessly at the same pace is boring. You zone out, maybe you slog through it, but it doesn't exactly fire you up. HIIT, on the other hand, demands focus. When you're sprinting, even for just 20 seconds, you're locked in. You can't think about your grocery list or scroll social media. You're pushing hard, and because it's so intense, it's over quicker. Instead of spending an hour grinding out steady cardio, you can hit 15-25 minutes of intervals and be done. It's efficient, which means you're more likely to stick with it consistently. Now, is steady-state cardio useless? Not at all. It can help with recovery, it's low impact, and it burns calories in a way that doesn't train you as badly. But if your priority is fast fat loss while holding on to muscle, HIIT just wins. And that doesn't mean you have to go out and kill yourself with all-out sprints every day. In fact, doing too much HIIT is a recipe for burnout. You want just enough to get the fat-burning benefits without wrecking your recovery from weight training. Because remember, lifting heavy and maintaining strength is still priority number one for keeping muscle. So what does that look like in practice? It could be 2 or 3 sessions per week of short intervals, sprinting on a track, assault bike intervals, rowing sprints, even hill sprints. Each bout only needs to last 15 to 30 minutes total, including rest. The actual hard work portions are often less than 10 minutes total when you add up all the sprints, but the impact is massive. Compare that to spending 6 hours a week jogging at the same pace, and you'll see why intervals are a smarter use of time. Another key piece, is flexible. Maybe sprinting isn't your thing. Maybe your joints can't take it. No problem. You can do intervals with a rowing machine, a bike, kettlebell swings, sled pushes, or even bodyweight moves, like burpees or jump squats. The tool doesn't matter. The principle is the same. Short bursts of intense effort, followed by recovery, repeated for a set duration. That's what creates the magic. And here's the last point worth making. Fat loss is not about choosing only one method. The real magic comes from combining strength training, smart intervals, and nutrition. HIIT alone won't save you if your diet is trash, but it does give you a fat-burning edge while sparing muscle. And when you line up the pieces properly, weights, intervals, and a calorie-controlled, protein-rich diet, you get the result everyone actually wants: less belly fat, more visible muscle, and a body that looks athletic, not just smaller. So to sum it up, high-intensity intervals outperform steady-state cardio, not because steady state doesn't work, but because intervals hit harder, burn more calories in less time, elevate your metabolism afterward, and send the right signal to keep muscle around. They're tough, they're efficient, and they make you leaner without making you look like you're wasting away. And that's the whole point. If you really want to crank up fat loss while still holding on to muscle, loaded carries and full body conditioning work are absolute gold. And the funny thing is, most people completely overlook them. Everyone knows about bench presses, squats, maybe some sprints, but how often do you see someone grab heavy dumbbells and just start walking with them? Hardly ever. But here's the truth. Loaded carries are one of the most brutally effective, efficient, and simple ways to burn fat, build grip strength, condition your body, and hold on to lean muscle all at the same time. They're like the Swiss Army knife of training, simple in concept, but devastatingly effective when applied. Think about what happens when you pick up a pair of heavy dumbbells and start walking what's commonly called a farmer's walk. Your grip is working overtime just to hold the weights. Your traps and shoulders are firing to stabilize. Your core is bracing with every step, keeping you upright and preventing you from folding in half. Your legs are driving each step forward under load. Even your lungs and heart are screaming after just a few meters. That's full body training in one move. And it's not just strength, it's calorie burn through the roof. You're literally moving heavy weight across distance, which is essentially work. And work equals energy expenditure. But here's where it gets really interesting. This kind of work doesn't just burn calories, it preserves muscle because of the intensity of the load. Your body isn't just going through the motions like it would on a treadmill. It's being forced to hold on to muscle mass because every muscle fiber is being recruited to handle the stress. And when you repeat that often enough, your body gets the message loud and clear. This muscle is needed. Don't throw it away, even in a calorie deficit. Now, loaded carries are just one form of this. You've also got sled pushes, sandbag carries, yoke walks. Basically, anytime you move your whole body against resistance, you're in this realm. And these movements are savage in the best way. They blend strength conditioning and cardiovascular demand into one. Push a heavy sled down a turf strip for 30 seconds and tell me that doesn't feel like both a squat workout and a sprint at the same time. You're recruiting legs, lungs, and your willpower all in one go. And here's the thing. Unlike steady cardio, these moves are self-limiting. You don't need a timer to tell you when to stop. You'll know when your body gives out. That level of intensity is exactly what spikes calorie burn and drives adaptation. Another reason these are so good is that they're brutally simple. You don't need fancy machines or a perfect technique that takes years to master. You pick something heavy up and move it, or you push it, or you carry it. It's primal. And because it's simple, you can load it up safely without worrying too much about breakdown and form like you might with, say, high-rep Olympic lifts. That makes them more accessible, even to people who aren't super experienced in the gym. Now, let's talk about conditioning circuits that use these kinds of movements. If you string together something like farmer's carries, sled pushes, kettlebell swings, and burpees into a circuit with minimal rest, you've just created a metabolic nuke. Every muscle is firing, your heart rate is skyrocketing, and you're burning an insane number of calories in a short time. More importantly, you're burning them in a way that still sends a signal to keep muscle. Compare that to jogging at a steady pace for an hour. Which one do you think tells your body, we need to be strong and muscular? It's not the jog, it's the heavy, whole-body grind. And let's not ignore the mental toughness these build. When you've got a heavy sled in front of you and your lungs are already on fire, pushing it just one more length requires grit. Same with carrying heavy dumbbells until your forearms feel like they're going to explode. These movements aren't just physical, they're psychological conditioning. And when you're in a fat loss phase, where hunger and fatigue are already messing with your head, that mental resilience is just as valuable as the calorie burn. Another key benefit here is joint friendliness. A lot of people can't do endless sprints because their knees or hips won't tolerate it. Loaded carries, sled pushes, and similar moves often bypass that issue. They're lower impact but still deliver high intensity. That means you can keep hammering fat loss without wrecking your joints in the process. Longevity matters. You don't want a program that burns fat fast but leaves you injured. Of course, the volume and frequency of these movements need to be balanced with your lifting. If you go all in on loaded carries every single day, you'll burn out and your recovery from heavy lifts will suffer. The smart move is to sprinkle them in 2 or 3 times per week, either as finishers after lifting or in dedicated conditioning sessions. That way you get all the benefits without compromising your main lifts, which, remember, are still the foundation for holding on to muscle. So here's the bottom line. If you want to burn fat, especially stubborn belly fat, without giving up muscle, don't just think about cardio and weights as 2 separate worlds. Loaded carries and full body conditioning movements are the bridge. They torch calories like cardio, but they preserve and even build muscle like strength training. They're time efficient, brutally effective, and they make you tougher in the process. If you're not using them, you're leaving fat loss potential on the table. And when you finally strip down to a lean physique, you'll be glad you did them. Because instead of looking soft and depleted, you'll look strong, athletic, and powerful. Here's the hard truth that a lot of people don't want to hear. No matter how perfectly you train, if your nutrition is trash, your fat loss results will be trash too. You can pick all the best exercises, squats, deadlifts, sprints, loaded carries, circuits, you name it. You can push yourself until you're drenched in sweat and gasping for air. But if you're still pounding down pizza, soda, and random snacks like it's nothing, the fat isn't coming off. And this is where so many people get stuck. They think they can simply work it off in the gym, but the math just doesn't work that way. Exercise is a tool, a powerful one, but nutrition is the driver of fat loss. It sets the stage, and training only fine-tunes the result. Let's do a little perspective check. A 30-minute interval session might burn, let's say, 400 calories if you really push hard. That's solid. But one slice of cheesecake could easily be 500 calories. So in less than 5 minutes of eating, you've undone 30 minutes of grueling effort. You see the problem? You can't win the calorie game with exercise alone. You need the diet piece lined up, or else the scale won't budge, or worse, you'll lose some weight, but it'll be muscle instead of fat. And here's where protein comes in. If the goal is burning fat without losing muscle, then protein is non-negotiable. Every single day, you've got to get enough to support muscle retention. Think of protein as your body's stay strong signal. When you're dieting, your body is already looking for ways to conserve energy. Without enough protein, it's going to start chewing through muscle because it sees no reason to keep it around. But when you give it sufficient protein, whether that's from chicken, beef, eggs, dairy, or even plant-based sources, you're telling your body, this tissue is important, keep it. Combine that with strength training, and you're locking in muscle while letting fat fall off. Now, calories are the next big piece. You've got to be in a calorie deficit to lose fat. There's no way around it. But here's where people screw it up. They go too extreme. They slash calories so hard that, yeah, they lose fat quickly, but they also lose muscle, tank their energy, and feel miserable. Or they go too light, barely creating a deficit, and then they complain that fat loss is too slow. The balance is the key. A moderate deficit, enough to drive fat loss but not so deep that you can't recover from training, is where the magic happens. That's usually somewhere around 500 calories below maintenance for most people, though it depends on the individual. Another trap is thinking that healthy foods give you a free pass. People will say, but I eat clean. Why am I not losing fat? Well, nuts, avocados, olive oil, these are all healthy foods, but they're calorie dense. If you're pouring olive oil all over your salads or snacking on handfuls of almonds, those calories add up fast. Healthy doesn't mean unlimited. You still have to measure, track, and be mindful. At the end of the day, the laws of energy balance don't care whether your calories come from donuts or quinoa. Obviously, whole foods are better for health, satiety, and performance, but you still can't ignore the numbers. Then we got carbs and fats. Here's the deal. Both can work. Both can fit into a fat loss plan, but the ratio depends on personal preference and training demands. If you're lifting heavy and doing intervals, carbs are your fuel. Cutting them completely can make you feel flat and drained, and your workouts will suffer. On the flip side, if you feel better with slightly higher fats and fewer carbs, that can work too, as long as calories and protein are under control. Don't overcomplicate it with fad diets. Low carb, keto, intermittent fasting. These are just different ways to create the same result, a calorie deficit. Choose the style that fits your lifestyle and helps you stay consistent. Consistency beats perfection every single time. Hydration also matters more than people give it credit for. Even mild dehydration can tank your performance and make you feel sluggish, which means worse workouts and fewer calories burned. Plus, sometimes when you think you're hungry, you're just thirsty. Water is the simplest fat loss hack in the world. Drink plenty, stay sharp, and let it help keep cravings at bay. And finally, let's address the elephant in the room. You can't target belly fat with diet either. Just like with exercise, you can't decide where your body pulls fat from. It's going to come off in the order your genetics decide. Usually belly fat is the last to go for men, hips and thighs for women. That's just how biology works. The solution? Stick with the plan long enough. Too many people quit halfway because they don't see immediate changes in their stomach. But if you're in a deficit, lifting heavy, eating enough protein, and sprinkling in conditioning, the fat will come off eventually, even from the stubborn areas. Patience is part of the process. So to bring it home, exercise selection matters. Yes, compounds, intervals, carries, circuits, they're all powerful, but none of them can overcome bad nutrition. Training is the amplifier, but nutrition is the foundation. Without the foundation, the amplifier just makes noise. If you want a lean, muscular body, your diet has to be structured, consistent, and disciplined. Get the calories right, get the protein high, balance your carbs and fats, drink your water, and let the training do its job. That's the formula.